Hello everybody, I am Jim Coppinger, one of the founders and the technical lead here at ZenTek Consultants. And the question that I want to address with you guys today is a pretty simple one, or at least it sounds like a simple one. It's how do I update everybody on schedule and material delivery changes on my construction job? This, like I said, sounds like a simple question, and I am amazed every single day at how many of the clients that I deal with as a construction technology consultant don't have a good answer for this, and all too often I'm really amazed by how many people don't see it as a major problem, and it really is. I think one of the things that everyone needs to understand is that material deliveries are part of your critical path. If you're handling a CPM structure in a schedule and you're not including your material delivery dates, your entire critical path methodology is shot. I don't care, you can have the greatest roofer on the planet. He can do everything. He's amazing. He's wonderful. He's always on time. But if he gets to the site and there's no materials, no work is getting done. And it really, it almost staggers the imagination when I would tell you that maybe 80–90% of the construction folks that I deal with on a daily basis are still just handling material deliveries using yellow post-it notes, emails. They're jotting down things on their desk blotter, right? They're writing delivery dates up on the whiteboard in the trailer, and that's it. That's how you share with everybody when things are supposed to be delivered. And you never have any idea if that's accurate, when it changes, when things get delayed, right? And that, like I said, is going to have a major impact on your overall project. And the other part of that I think is really, really vital is cost changes. The reality is, when you go in and you estimate a job and you put numbers to, what it's going to cost for your steel or your roofing or your concrete, whatever it may be, you have numbers at a set date in time, right? But we've all seen, right, when you get things like, government interference and tariffs and, taxes and shipping delays and transportation problems, prices can dramatically shift in a moment, right? And that's going to seriously impact your project, right? So how do we get that information out? How do we tell people when there are schedule delays? How do we tell people when there have been cost changes, right, that we're going to have to pass along, whether it's, to a sub or to the client? We've got to be able to put that information out in a more reasonable manner than just sending out emails. And the great thing is this: almost all of us at some level are using some type of software to handle all of our scheduling, right? Whether it's, Primavera or Microsoft Project or Planner or a dozen others, doesn't matter. We're already working in these systems that give us the availability for scheduling. Well, one of the things that you can very easily do, and I recommend to all of my clients, is that you can add all of your material orders as a subset, either a summary task or even as a separate project to each of your items. So for example, if I go in and I'm ordering roofing materials, I can go to the roofing section of my project and I can break it down into two setups. I can have a materials subcategory and I can have an installation subcategory. And under the materials, I can put in a delivery date, right? And I can tie that delivery date to an order date. So I have to order on such and such a time, and there's going to be a 2-week delay before it actually arrives on site. And then I can tie all of my installation processes, right? When the roofer is going to get there to do the actual work. I can tie that and I can link that using my scheduling system to the actual delivery date. So when there are delays, when there are changes, that schedule is automatically updated. All I have to do is go in and change the delivery date. The manufacturer just called me, there's going to be a 4-day delay because there were rainstorms in the Midwest. I just go into my schedule, I change the delivery date out 4 days, and everything else on my critical path gets shoved forward by 4 days, right? Everything, referring to the roofer. And the great thing about that is that modern systems like, Primavera and Project and Planner and so on, they have cloud-based sharing functionality. if you've got the right system and it's set up and configured properly, so that all you ever have to do is give everybody access to that cloud version of the schedule. So when your contractors are looking at 2-week look aheads, right, it's right there. It's on the cloud. They can see when they're supposed to be, on site. You can set up automated delivery changes, right, of email and notifications for when those changes occur, so everybody gets notifications. Right? There's a lot of functionality that we can do to handle all of that, and the same thing can happen with our costs. Right? If we're tracking costs in that schedule for all of our materials that need to be delivered to the site, right, we can easily go in, and if there's been some kind of an update to the pricing since we did the original estimate, got the original bid, that's fine. We can go in and say, okay, hey, you know what? It was $15 a square foot before, and now it's $22 a square foot. I can easily just change that cost in my scheduling program, and I can see and compare the differences between my initial baseline cost that I estimated and the actual cost when it came time to actually deliver that material to site. So, look, the reality is, if you're dealing with manual processes for this, right, you're relying on paper-based workflows, right, manual data entry, going ahead and maybe tying this all into an Excel spreadsheet that you have on your desktop for each of your jobs. There's no way to communicate that data effectively or track it and keep everybody up to date on it, right? And that causes problems, because if we'll go back to a roofer. He's a wonderful roofer. He always shows up on time. But if he shows up on the site and you forgot to tell him, hey, the material's not there, well, you know what? He's going to another job. So instead of being yours for the next 2 weeks, you're going to have to wait a month and a half to his next available slot. It destroys your critical path and costs you a lot of money. And it's something that you should really be looking at, in using your scheduling system to handle that. And there is a link that we're going to provide to kind of a practical example. We do that for each of these, how do I type videos, right? These how-to videos. We're trying to tie it to a practical approach to how you can do that with your current software systems. All right, so take a look at that. All right, and with that, I'll get out of here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.